Straw Hut Media.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to be talking about Only Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episode 9 today. So, spoiler alert, if you have not watched the episode yet, please go ahead and do so and come back. There's an awesome thread on r/Only Murders Hulu. For those that have watched, please send over your comments in the comment section or raise your hand by hitting the hand icon to come up on stage to talk to our guest today. We're really excited because we will be joined by Siddhartha Khosla, who is the composer of the series, and Kirker Butler, who wrote this week's episode. Stay tuned. We'll get started soon. Hello, KK.
Hi there. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Keener is hopping on in 1 second.
Is there another Keener here? I don't
Just 18.
No way. Just that cute little red thing. Hello. I'm so happy.
Hello. How have you been? We have missed you.
Oh, I've missed everyone too. I've been okay. I was a little under the weather, but I came back with bells on, so I'm doing good now.
Oh, we're so happy to hear it. And so much has happened, and there's so much to discuss from just this week's episode, and then
Right?
Oh yeah. This week's episode, chock full, right? From beginning to end.
Yes, it was a doozy, but oh my gosh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
We are going to unpack it like we just went overseas. We're coming back and we're going to unpack all the luggage.
Oh my gosh, and we brought souvenirs.
Yes.
We've got stuff from the airport, duty free. We got lots. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got lots of those.
We needed to check a second bag.
Exactly. I have a duty free something right next to me right now. Opened.
But what's so great about today's show is Siddhartha Khosla, the composer for the show, will be here, and Kirker Butler, who wrote episode 9. So any questions you can think of, people can ask them.
If KK and Keener, you want to start with your guesses,
Yes.
and I think after that we're going to talk to Sid, and then after Sid is when Kirker will be joining.
Let's do it, KK. Well, KK and I
Yes.
had a meeting of the minds this morning, right, KK? Wow.
Keener and I have a weekly segment on our podcast, which we call the Whodunit Summit, where we individually write down on a piece of paper who we think the murderer is based on what we've seen so far, and we seal it in an envelope. Then we reveal it to each other live on the podcast. So this week was kind of interesting, wasn't it, Keener?
Yes. I mean, we were like one. I couldn't believe it.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey,
Yes.
Sid.
Sid?
Oh my God. Hi guys. This is awesome. Thank you so much for having me on as part of this conversation. Is Kirker here too?
He's coming on in a few, I believe.
Oh, I love Kirker. That's awesome.
Yeah. Old Butler. So we were just going to, KK and I were just going to throw in who we guessed for episode 9, our guesses. And we were just saying that, we had a unified front this time, and
For the first time ever, I think, right?
2 seasons, and we picked. Go ahead, KK.
So both Keener and I picked for episode 9. We think the murderer is Cinda.
Cinda.
Interesting.
Right. All I have to say is that when she made that look at the, that was it. I'm like,
Right.
There's something going on there.
And I will say she was my suspect from that. She was my very first suspect this season.
Yes. Oh, look at that.
So you started the season feeling you suspected Cinda from the start of the season?
I suspected Cinda from the start. I felt that she was jealous of the trio and the success that they're having with their podcast. They're kind of getting in on her territory.
She's a cold woman. Sometimes hard, not in this respect. Yes.
It's a good thing that you can't see my icon or whatever, that I have some neutral icon. It's like the best poker face imaginable.
You're not giving anything away.
I'm not giving anything away. Not even a little icon that doesn't move or anything.
That's perfect.
You got nothing. I can say that that is a very that's a very smart guess, but we don't know if that is the right guess.
No,
Correct. We will not know till the next episode.
I mean, this show, it gives like everything. And we always talk about the red herrings and the, taking you to the left when it's to the right. We know it and we always feel it.
We always fall for it.
We throw them out there and hope they stick. But, we normally don't.
But I also felt Cinda was a very petty person, naming that podcast Only Murderers in the Building,
right.
right. Just like making a dig at them. So,
well, also,
and she's mean to Poppy. So,
yeah, I mean, also, I think that she steals everybody. Like that's an idea that she stole and just added an ER on the. You know
Correct.
what I mean? Just a thing.
Yes, that's true. There's some plagiarism you're accusing her.
Yes, yeah. So the music. Are we going to start talking about the music, guys, right now with Siddhartha? I mean, my gosh.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh. I feel like the music has been, that is like the fourth of the main leading cast right there is the music. Truly, it's so wonderful. And this episode in particular, when people were address hunting, I felt like it made my heart race.
Well, thank you very, very, very much. I believe this is the episode that ended with when there was a big. This is when we recorded an opera singer on. At the very end of this episode. See, because the thing is, I don't even remember what episode I worked on. Like, I don't even know. So just so I don't give anything away, why don't you tell me what you saw at the end of 9? So I'm making sure I don't make any mistakes here.
Okay, at the end of 9, they end with Cinda as the main leading suspect
at the bar in Oklahoma.
Yep. When it goes into Criminal by Fiona Apple.
Krebs turns from the bar and looks at her, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's the ending of that we had an opera singer come in and sing through the whole ending. This soprano opera singer who was just so stunning, and that was like one of my favorite musical moments. So I appreciate you noticing. This was as every episode has been in this show. There's just you feel like you're sort of given this wonderful opportunity to do something interesting and special, and I don't ever feel like I have any rules on this show. John Hoffman and the producers are always like, it's okay, you can be a little weird. And I was like, well, I sent in my demo of that final sequence, the music, and it was me going like a crazy person. And I was like, John, don't worry. I was like, I think we need an opera singer to do this. I mean, I was afraid he was going to be like, let's just keep you doing it,
Sometimes the scratch, you get really married to the scratch, and that happens quite often, huh? Where you just, that is it. It captures that initial feeling.
That's so true. There's this, and that's the sort of the challenge with sort of making any art. It's the question is at what point do you give it up? At what point are you at what point is it done? That's an existential question for the art itself. When is it ever done? And you never know. And so I know I feel like so pretentious even saying that, but it's a battle that we always have, where it's just as a composer, we normally try not having what we call demo-itis. And we always want to make it better. And so then you have producers sometimes that hear it and they're like, well, let's not touch that. And you're like, no, that was just but I burped in that recording, it's okay. It's cool. Oh no.
In the case of Rick and Morty, that's the entire show. Well, Sid, we do have a couple of questions in the comments.
Awesome.
Already primed and ready. But for those who are listening, we are accepting live questions. So if you'd like to raise your hand to ask Sid a question live, hit that hand icon and we will bring you up. In the meantime, Brown Sugar Manifest just wanted to say, I gotta say the music is fantastic. It's been on repeat on my Spotify. Kudos, Sid.
Wow.
That's very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a question from Hannah Lemp asks, hi, Siddhartha. Thank you so much for joining us for this talk. I was wondering, what is the process like composing music for a show like Only Murders in the Building? Are you given guidance? You kind of mentioned this, but are you given guidance on what the tone should be in specific scenes? Are you shown the fully edited episodes?
That's a great question. Now we're deep in season 2, about to get to the finale. So there's a sort of a well-oiled machine that is at play here. And so, but to get it to be well-oiled, a lot of work had to happen in those first 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes from season 1. And that work was a lot of writing. Like I would write. As soon as I read the first script, I had ideas. I was writing. Before I even saw any picture, I was writing. And some of these ideas, also helped the producers also, find a tone for the show. The tone of a show is just a marriage between the writing, the directing, the acting, the cinematography, the costumes, the production design, editing, all of it, music. So we spent a lot of time early on sort of trying to get it right from the beginning. And I think, like, compared to other projects I've worked on, this is one of those ones where I will listen to like what I did in the very first episode and still feel pretty good about it. Like I think it improved as we went on. But so a lot of that legwork happens early. Oftentimes editors will send me some picture that has no music and they're like, what do you think should go here? And I'll suggest. Sometimes editors will say, we want to put this thing that you've already written for the show here, but it's not doing this, it's not jumping me out of my seat yet, or it's not making me feel this beat here. Can you now tailor it to this scene? So I'll work on scenes early on. And obviously as we are getting deeper and deeper into the show, I feel like we're also starting to take more and more risks, creatively, more and more swings. And that's been kind of fun. So sometimes I'll get what we call a locked episode where all the picture is in its final place and there's music already in there of mine that's been sort of like dropped in as temp music, we call it, temporary music. And sometimes it stays, sometimes it doesn't. But then with John Hoffman, we watch it down and John will have some wacky, cool, crazy idea. And then I will then sort of interpret that and then rewrite the score for the whole episode. So it varies.
Mm. Wow. Hey, Sid, did you have anything to do with the Yodel Shop music stuff?
I did have, I had some, I played a very sort of like peripheral role in it. I sort of like listened, I oversaw some of it. Mm-hmm. It's a whole very cool thing in the show and you'll see sort of like, you may see more of it, but, and it's a very like, it's one of those things where yodeling is not my expertise, and there are yodeling experts out there that are. And so, we bring on people to sort of be part of that creative process when it feels appropriate. And our yodeling person in New York did just such a fabulous job. Fabulous.
Yeah. Really did.
Yeah.
It actually brings up the next question that was in the queue, and it comes from, they asked me to call them Peter. So Peter, will there be any yodeling in the final episode of series 2 or any episodes in series 3? I'm not sure if you can give it away, but it feels a little bit more of an...
We always try. Everybody always tries.
And I have to admit, Sid, this is a little bit more innocent than some of the other prying questions that we had.
Oh, I think throw the tough ones at me. Because you can't, I love the fact that you can't see my face is the best part of this. But, and not like I could see any of your faces, but still when I look at like lawn ponds, right? Like there's something, I just love that image. Like I feel like I can still see what you're thinking. Is there yodeling in the final episode? I guess just wait and see.
Okay, it's an appropriate response.
Yeah.
Fair. Yodel, wait and see.
Like, what if I said yes? Like, what if I said let's go down this path? So if I say yes, there's yodeling.
Like, what does that do with the murder?
It may give away something, right? But if I say, and so I have to sort of like, so you can think about that. Maybe if I said yes. What if I said yes and I said, actually, I shouldn't have said that?
Yes.
I said too much.
I go with my first answer and my final answer.
That's
Okay,
right.
it's fair. Well, we do have someone on stage, Acceptable Pizza. If you'd like to ask your question, feel free to unmute.
Hello, my question is for Elizabeth.
Okay.
I was wondering, how did you decide to tie in season 1 with season 2 using that storyline about Oklahoma, the Oklahoma podcast? This was something that nobody in the fandom was able to predict. What made you to decide to focus on that instead of perhaps expanding on a different storyline in season 1?
Oh, when I brought up about the Oklahoma was important with the hoodie and all that stuff. I don't know. I saw a hoodie and I just thought, is that some red herring or is that something that they're going to, and in the very beginning, they have to come back to it somehow. There has to be something about it, right? I mean, it just seemed like you have to, the writers intentionally put things in. I mean, some things are red herrings, but some things to me are just so intentional and you have to keep it in the back of your mind. And so that along with the hoodie and Cinda with her looks, it just kind of all came around.
You have to keep an eye on everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the
Thank
question.
you, Acceptable Pizza.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great username.
Oh,
Right. Fantastic.
Sid, there are some great usernames.
I mean, the question, as we let's talk about that for a second. Like, what is, if you don't mind, like let's talk about pizza. Like, what is the most, like, very quickly, we don't talk about it for too much longer, but like, what is the most acceptable pizza? Like, what city in your mind in the U.S. makes
Oh.
the most acceptable
Yeah.
pizza?
New York pizza in LA, if you could find it, is delicious.
Okay.
The thin, yummy. I mean, also Chicago pizza, but it's very heavy. The thick
Very heavy. Too
piece of
thick.
it. You got to have like a Uno pizza, just a one slice if you can handle it. But I like thin, greasy, yummy pizza. Mm.
I'm New Haven all the way. So that's it.
Oh,
Ooh.
Mystic pizza.
I have to go to New Haven now to go get a pizza.
Oh, Sally's, Pepe's, a modern. It's like in my mind, the best pizza in. And then New York, close second.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Anyway,
Sauce, right? It's about the
Sid,
sauce.
I have a question.
yeah.
How was creating the music for season 2 different, if it was different, than for season 1? Were there different challenges involved?
Yes. I mean, look, so season 2, it's really interesting because the show changes with whoever is working on it. I know that's a very obvious thing to say, but like, season 1, we had 3 incredible editors. In season 2, we had 3 incredible editors and 3 different editors. And that changed because like sometimes editors they have other projects lined up, and so schedules don't align. And that's literally the only reason for there being a change is that, nobody knew how successful the show was going to be in season 1. And so people had projects lined up after. So that with that change comes altering visions and ideas of like what the role of music is going to play in an episode. Obviously there's like a guidance from John Hoffman and the producers and Dan Fogelman and Jess Rosenthal, etc., to chime in, but people bring their own creative voices to it. So the music in this season has also been used differently in my mind than it did season 1. There's more of it all of a sudden. And that's one thing I found that there's a lot of score in these episodes. And also because our universe expanded a little bit, our story expanded a little bit. We started learning a little bit about the Arconia, the history of the Arconia. We started seeing more. There's more of like a feeling of a tangled web of things that are happening. There's all this sort of like, there's these extensions of our story. And by virtue of that, the sound has gotten bigger, I think. And we also are able to have a lot more musicians in a room now than we did season 1 because I was confined to COVID restrictions in season 1. Season 1 had a lot of sort of like, we had a big sounding score. It's not like we didn't, but in terms of the live musicians that played on it, I could only bring in like 4 musicians at a time together in the studio. Now I have 15 to 20 that play on it.
Wow.
So when you have a live ensemble of a lot of people together, it creates something really cool and magical. And there's a chemistry there that I have now that I just love. And as a purist in terms of how music should sound with live people performing it, I'm just so happy with where it's gone. So yeah, and also I'm taking more risks. I'm like, there was that the big Mabel episode this season with the puzzle pieces. That score was almost like it was. It was very atmospheric. I took, Mabel had like there's like this sort of like I do this thing. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear this.
I was going to say, please do a little bit. Great.
There was that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That like. This was sort of her like. That sound was Mabel's sort of remembering the past sort of theme from season 1. You heard it when she had those really sort of weird flashbacks to Tim Kono. And so I brought that sort of thematic idea back this season for that episode. But we had flutes and woodwinds playing the oh, oh, oh. And I ran it through like a wall of reverb, and it sort of had this very atmospheric feeling in that episode, and it felt other. It didn't feel like our normal palette in a lot of places.
It's kind of haunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea, and so there's definitely more liberty being taken. Season 1 I did do a bunch of fun stuff there for sure. That was for me at that moment, taking liberties. But now, you're another season in, and it's like, okay, how do we keep it interesting?
Yeah, it was beautifully haunting, by the way. Beautifully, like just.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And we know you were nominated for 2 Emmys for season 1 for the Emmys coming up next month.
That's
pretty cool.
Congratulations! Oh my gosh, people are going off right now. By the way,
listening to that live performance.
I know. Sid is giving it to you. I mean,
Right?
you get to hear him. Like it's amazing.
That's a treat.
it's really amazing.
I also see that Kirker is here. There, Wonder Beard.
Let's see.
Kirker does have a wonderful beard.
Kirker, can you hear us?
It's just like it's such a great play on Wonder Bread too. I mean, what a writer!
Oh yeah.
He's such a great writer. Always has been.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, here you are.
Hey, look at that.
Kirker, it's Sid.
Hi, Sid. It's been a long time. How are you been?
It's been such a long time. I've been great. We were just singing your praises.
Oh,
Literally, you said the singing.
Writing. Yeah.
that's
I mean, the way that you just took Wonder Bread and made it Wonder Beard. Example, just a small example of your work.
That's a writer.
it is a very magical beard. We used to say my wife used to say that our first dog sprang from my beard because it was
It wasn't a rib, it was the beard.
it was the beard for sure.
Thanks for joining us, Kirker.
Of course.
Yeah.
Kirker, there is a question already for you. If you don't mind.
I hope I can answer it.
I hope you can. So I will say there's some sleuthing that the internet has already done, so I can help grease those wheels. But Icy Red Rose asks, can you share any clues about Becky being alive that we might have missed through last season and or this one?
No. I feel like I
It's
love
all the past.
I feel like there's one more episode left, and it's so revelatory, and there is some great stuff about Becky in there, and I just don't want to spoil anything for anyone because I feel like it's so satisfying. So I would just encourage everyone to just hang on for a few more days, and you'll have all the answers you want.
You got it. Okay.
Well said.
There's been a lot of internet sleuthing about how Poppy was placed right by a poster that was like, where is Becky in the studio? They've sleuthed out some clues. So I wasn't sure if, we could talk about any past clues.
I saw those on Reddit actually, and they've been up there for a little while, and I was just like, oh well, good for you. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, definitely. And also thank you for letting us know that you come and join the community from time to time to see that stuff.
I do. I mean, this is such an incredible fan base. I love going on Reddit and seeing what everyone thinking and coming up with. And it's something that we talked about in the writer's room a lot, that we really did. You all gave us so much more credit for being smart than we deserved. But it was really, it's been gratifying seeing all of the stuff on there and everyone, thinking and putting out theories. And it's been really satisfying, really great.
Well, thank you so much for checking us out and for being here today. I think everyone's going to start sleuthing even on your username, even though we already dissected it.
No, I was saying to Ryan before I signed on today that I've had this Reddit name for, I don't know what my cake day is, but it's probably been 15 years and I've never posted anything. I just kind of observe. And so this is the first time I've ever done anything where my username has been out there, and it's a little uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yes. I mean, you're using your own personal one too, which is very brave. So thank you for trying.
Yeah, sure.
Sid, I had another question come in for you in the comments, and we do have someone on stage too, but this is from Irish Ted 13, and they ask, with Selena's chop as a vocalist, do we have a chance of her singing more than just a line from last episode next season? Wait, last episode next season? Well, yes. We'll leave that, but she sang a line instead of saying it. Or speaking it. We're curious if there's going to be any other Selena singing moments.
Well, that is a very good question. I don't have the answer to that yet, but a little fact about the show is that Selena does sing one other time. And if you go back to the pilot episode, at the end of the episode, Mabel is in the shower and she's humming the in the shower. So if you go back to the end of the pilot, listen to what happens there. Mabel is singing the main title theme in the show, which is when that happened, I realized that we were entering a very special show. That when the showrunners and directors wanted to do that. Because it was like we were crossing that sort of like fourth wall. I was like, why would she know the theme, But there was, it opened up a whole world for me, and seeing that there was like a magical element to this whole show. So she does sing there. I'm not sure if she's going to sing again.
Okay. Well, also, congratulations having one of the biggest recording artists sing something that you wrote.
I know, that's pretty cool. And just a fun thing that I have, like my favorite. One day when Only Murders in the Building is no longer happening, which I hope we have many years of the show. I have something very special on somewhere in my email, and I'll share. We could do this again another time, and I'll find it and share it. But on set, when they were filming the pilot, Jamie Babbitt, our amazing director, who was also nominated this year, by the way, for directing, an Emmy nomination for her pilot episode, I think it was. At one point, we were considering having Steve, Marty, and Selena sing the da 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 on the actual main title sequence to have their voices incorporated. So they spent like half hour on set one day recording them, practicing it, and they asked me to put together a little demo that they could send in for them to learn it. And so I sat down on my piano and I did this, and this is exactly what I did. I was like, awkwardly, okay, here we go. And I went, right? And that little okay went to Steve and Marty and Selena, and you could hear them listening to my demo and then trying to sing the melody back, and Steve coaching Marty, Marty coaching Steve, Selena. It was amazing. And it got to the point where Marty started making fun of me, where he'd be like, okay, let's go. And Martin Short makes fun of me on this little like recording that they have on my computer. It's crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
This is when you miss DVD extras, because that sounds like a perfect thing to release to the fans, like in a behind the scenes type of extra content.
Exactly.
Well, we'll be doing more podcasts after the season's over, so maybe
Yes.
contribute things that we can put out there.
Bonus
Yeah.
content.
Who has the rights? Holly Eyeliner is on. I'm so sorry, Holly, for the delay here, but feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You sound great.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. This is a question for the writers' room about balancing the writing. First, how do you balance the writing for more the casual viewer who will go along, they're surprised, they're shocked, but maybe they forget a lot of the details by the end of the season, contra versus the more, well, the ready viewer who we take screenshots, we have our murder board and everything. So we know all the details, but so we need maybe something more complex than the casual viewer. So that's one aspect of the balance. And the other aspect is comedy versus mystery or thriller. So how do you balance those things in the writer's room?
That is a great question. You know, in terms of the balancing it for the casual viewer versus the really intense viewer who really is, you know, like you said, has murder boards and all that stuff. You know, we just try to tell the best story we can, and we trust the audience. We know that even the casual viewers, because they're invested in these characters and invested in the story, we know that they're going to follow us pretty well. And for the stuff that, you know, we're bringing back from season 1, then, you know, we have that Hulu has been nice enough to give us that previously on Only Murders. So we can catch up the little details and things like that. But I think the thing about that is we just trust the audience, because the audience has proven that, you know, you will go with us, like wherever we're wanting to go. And I know that there's sometimes, I've seen the Reddit boards, sometimes people get very frustrated with where we go. And I get it. But we trust you guys, and hopefully you trust us enough to know that we're going to lead you back to a satisfying conclusion. And in terms of the comedy and the mystery, you know, we try to keep the mystery as the central focus of the show, and we know that where we want to go. So we have to get from point A to point B to point C, and we know that there are certain beats that we have to hit along the way. And along the way, we just find the comedy. We know that with Steve and Marty and Selena, that whatever we give them comedically, they're going to nail. And we've also been fortunate enough to have, you know, Jane Lynch and Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane and all these wonderful comedic actors as well. And you don't have to say, hey, this is a joke and hit this here. You just have to put it on the page, and they are so talented and so good. They can look at it and they can find the comedy in it. So if we just keep our focus on telling the story and making sure that we put some jokes in there, that the actors are going to make it so much funnier than we ever even anticipated. So it's that part is not a challenge, because they're all so good.
Okay, thank you so much.
That was a great question. Thank you. And what a great answer. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holy Eyeliner.
Acceptable eyeliner.
Acceptable eyeliner. I know everything is accepted here. Except for prying questions, even though we
No.
pry.
No, hearts.
Kirker, another question for you from Hannah Lemp. Hi, Kirker. Who is your favorite character to write for? I know that's a hard question, but at least not one that asks for spoilers.
I mean, you know, to choose between Steve and Marty and Selena, it's pretty crazy. You know, because of just being the comedy nerd that I am, and having been this Steve Martin fanboy since I was 6 years old, I think anything that I can write for Steve that he delivers, you know, and is funny, and I can tell that he thinks it's funny, is, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like a nice warm pat on the head from, you know, your favorite uncle. It's so delightful. You know, my wife and I have when we have for 10 years, we have a poster of Steve up framed over our toilet in our bathroom. As almost like, it sounds tacky, but it's really actually quite nice.
Place.
It's an insert from one of his comedy albums from the 70s. And so just to be able to do anything with Steve is a complete joy.
That's got to be surreal to see him and hear him saying your lines.
It is insane. And this season has been so crazy because he and I wrote Angel and Flip Flops together. So he and I wrote the lyrics and he wrote the music. And just to have that experience of, oh, hey, it's Tuesday morning and here's a phone call from Steve Martin about the song we're writing. It was insanity. It was really something like I had a hard time getting my head around.
And you're like, hey, I'm looking at you right now in the bathroom.
Right. Yes, exactly. I was just looking at you earlier. It's so funny. I showed a picture of that to Marty and he said, well, that's just perfect.
But it is, Kirker. That's where it should be in the back. That's
Kirker. I love that song so much, and I remember when I saw it when I got the early footage from that episode where he's singing it to Lucy, right? Yeah. And it's one of the it was such an unexpected thing too in the show. I just wasn't expecting ever to see that, and it had this sort of I felt like it was weird. I felt like we were watching some incredible film in that moment. I don't know what it was. It did that for me. It didn't feel like a TV show. It felt bigger picture. And that song was such a brilliantly written song. Kudos to you guys. It's so great.
Yeah, it was just one of those wonderful, unexpected things. We knew that we were gonna have Charles have released an album, and I was like, ooh, I want to write that song.
Oh.
John Hoffman was delightful, said, yeah, sure, go ahead.
And it did chart in Germany.
It did chart. No, but Kirker, I want to ask you the pitta patta. I just love that so much. It's such a perfect thing to say. Like pitta patta. Where did that come from? I just loved it. It was so
that was all Steve. And we had a line in that episode, and I don't know if we shot it and it got cut for time or whatever, but I thought it was so funny where Selena says, what is pitta patta? And he says, oh, that's the sound that flip flops make. And Selena says, isn't flip flop the sound flops make? And I thought that was so funny. And I don't know. But
I don't think I did. That's hilarious. Oh, okay. That was I just loved it. It's just so beautiful. And the little girl singing pitta patta. It's just
it was so great. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, and she put it on her summer playlist. She just loves it.
Oh my God!
Oh my gosh! How perfect is that for you? Oh,
I know.
Amazing. We talked a lot about that song when it debuted during the episode talk that we had, and I'm trying to find the comments from that because there are a lot of questions about it. But I can remember people asking for it to get released. Are there any plans for people to also add it to their summer playlist?
It's on Spotify. It's on Spotify. It's on Amazon. It's Tidal. I think
the soundtrack was released. Is it part of the soundtrack?
I don't know. But there's made a video. Someone made an animated video that's on YouTube. It's crazy.
Oh,
it's really cool. No, it's not. It's not on the. There's a score soundtrack that comes out every year, and we just released that. But I think that was released as a separate single.
Okay.
It should be a separate single.
You get after it, Reddit.
I know. Yeah, please Reddit. Send it to number 68 on the charts.
Can I ask you a question? Were you part of the Sound of Silence? Because you seem to be part of all the music. Did you do anything with that, or what's your thought on that? If not.
That was a very I sort of handle all the original sort of score and sometimes the song stuff too. I was not involved in the in Flip Flop song. But that moment I was obviously I watched and sort of gave my notes and thoughts on it when I saw early sequences of it. But no, I'm not involved in that. That is sort of our music we have a music supervisor that will handle sort of the on-set performances, especially covers of things like the cover of that song. But there are certain moments, there there was I've definitely chimed in on some yodel conversations.
Yeah.
But no, that one was just it's a beautiful moment also on set. I would have loved to be there for that. That was just, seeing the early footage of it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And the season 2 soundtrack is out now.
Yeah, the season 2 score soundtrack is out now. Yep.
Keener and I were joking on our podcast that people can now be at home and recreate scenes there.
Yes, recreate the scenes with the music, people. You can do it.
You know what they've done now too? They're like for all the Only Murders fans out there, on YouTube, there's these, Hulu has put out these things called these ambient rooms where you can go to Mabel's room, you can go to Charles's room, Oliver's room. They each have a room, and it basically plays my score and a bunch of sound design to this really cool image of their apartment, and stuff happens.
Oh.
As you watch, there's shadows that go across the wall. There's little things. There may be clues in there, but you can sit there for an hour on it. It's a single. Each video is an hour long, and you can just sit there for an hour if you have really nothing else to do for an hour. Just sit there and stare at it. And then also, it's a really good way to it's a good way you can hang out to it. Just let's have it on the background, and
Right.
while you're reading or whatever. But check out the ambient room. It's super cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Check that out.
I have a question from the comments for actually the both of you. It's from Joe Nard V, and they ask, do you all think that the 30-minute runtime as a blessing or a curse?
I'll let Kirker will probably have better insight on that, because I do know that our runtime is flexible. So there are some episodes that are longer than others. We had an episode last year, Kirker, didn't we? That was 35 or 40 minutes long. I forget.
I think the finale was close to 40 minutes. Yeah. And that is what's so great about streaming, because I worked, and Sid, you've worked in network too for so long. And, you've got such a limit. You've got, every story has to be, well, for half hour, it's 20 minutes. And for 1 hour, it's 44. And as we all know, not every story is 21 minutes. So it's so nice, I think, to have the flexibility to tell a 40-minute story if it needs to be 40 minutes. Or I think my episode this week, episode 9, I think it was 29 minutes. So I think it's really nice to have that flexibility. I don't feel like it's a restraint at all. I feel like it's, but I've also worked in network, and I know that it is a kind of a pain in the ass to have to get everything down to 21 minutes and 18 seconds or whatever it is now. On network, it feels like you're just the stuff between the commercials. But streaming allows you to actually tell the best story that you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the amount of sort of in the creative, it's there's a domino effect with that, and it extends to every department too on the show. When you're operating, at least for me, I don't know how you feel with that, Kirker, too, but when you're operating under this very sort of this world is sort of you can do what you want in this world. You have that freedom and flexibility. It starts extending to all sorts of different departments. I know I feel it with the music, I can take different types of risks. And I know the costume designer is so artful with what she does. And it all sort of, it's a domino effect of creativity and the idea of everyone can feel as artful as they want. They're not confined to these, confined as much. And, the spirit. So it definitely changes it all. I mean, look, we have a silent episode of television, and
Right.
that's it's not the kind of stuff you're going to see outside of streaming.
And you can swear.
And
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, you're not held prisoner to all the little things that you must abide to.
Thank God we can swear, because what would Michael Rappaport do if we couldn't swear?
Exactly.
He'd be beep beep. I don't know. He wouldn't be there.
Yeah, you'd have to recast him. You'd have to have Elliot Stabler come in for a crossover.
Right. Yeah.
He's able to convey anger without swearing so well.
Right. Oh, Michael Rappaport, genius on the show. Oh,
He really is.
right.
He's been unbelievable.
And the dim. All of it was so great. All of it. This episode.
I mean, I've actually scored scenes on the show around a curse word. I just did it on the show.
You tell.
And you're going to see it in the finale.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's like it's to the point where I'm like, there's this all this anticipation is building and building and building and building and building and building, and all of a sudden the music just sort of pauses, and then a huge expletive is let out. You know, it's like it's all building up to this expletive.
Can you tell us what the word is or no? Did that spoil it?
I mean, there's only several.
And you can also swear here, just to put that
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I can tell you, but like I don't want to ruin any surprise.
Okay, don't ruin it. Yes.
I'll just keep going.
It's like even if I told you, it wouldn't change anything. But I think it's more fun if now I've said what I said.
You gave
exactly. Now when we see it.
Thank you. Very nice.
Yes, something for us to sleuth and hold on to.
People are pulling out the whiteboards right now, going, "Huh?
Everyone's making a list of swear words.
Right, exactly.
It's just swear words. You've just turned this into therapy. Thank you.
Or a drinking game.
A drinking game. I like that one.
What's special for me and Kirker probably too in this. I mean, and for both of us here is like, you know, Kirker came on and he's like, I haven't seen you in a while. I talked to you in a while. You know, Kirker was an executive producer and writer on the very first gig I ever had in Hollywood. The Neighbors. Oh. And so it's just like and this is the second thing. There's been a lot of years and projects and things that have happened in between, but this is now the second thing that we've worked on together. So it's incredibly special.
That is yeah.
It's fitting that we share the same sort of like image, whatever this thing is.
The stories you have it completely. I'm looking right at them. Yep.
Blue and pink, whatever this thing is.
Yes, you did one of the greatest things. Like in my career, I've been working now for 20 years. And one of the favorite things I've ever been a part of was the Indian wedding celebration in The Neighbors. And I don't know if people
the Bollywood musical.
the Bollywood musical number. Go to YouTube and look that up. It is it's so elaborate for a network sitcom, a low-rated network sitcom that you would have given a shit about. But they just, I don't know, for some reason they backed up the money truck and we did this very elaborate Bollywood musical that Sid wrote the music to, and it was so good.
Oh, everybody check that out.
So much fun. I was a nervous wreck going into that because I'd never done anything like that for television before. I was like, what am I doing here? But yeah, thanks, Kirker. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Bale.
And I have to say hi to someone who's here, Tad Cooper, 251. Hello, Tad Cooper. I see you. Tad Cooper, obviously a Gallivant reference, so hello.
Nice.
Amazing. Good eye.
Huh. There was at Kirker before you came on. There was somebody, and I don't know if they're still here, but their name was Acceptable Pizza, which I thought was a great name.
That's pretty good. I mean, all pizza.
They led into a slight little conversation about what the best pizza cities are in the U.S. I said New Haven. I don't know what you were.
Yeah, well, I'm from Kentucky, so none of them.
No.
Mama Celeste.
Unacceptable. Yeah.
We have another question in for Sid, especially, leading off the coattails of you having such a thoughtful response about composing around a swear word. This one comes from Substantial Bank 5509. They ask, I wonder whether when you are writing rhythm, melody, and harmony, if they have different roles. Like, does one come to you first? Also, if there is a tailoring thing you do for a scene, is there any one of those three elements you tend to adjust first? A bit of a technical question.
I began my career as a songwriter in a band before I ever composed anything for TV and film. And so I immediately go to writing melody. As a songwriter, I've always sort of like the melody has always been my guide. It's like if I have a good melody, I have a good earworm or a good hook of something, then I feel like I can build the piece around it. And so on this show, this show, all the themes are based around singular, like melodic concepts. So there is like the main one, the da 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 da. And then there's Vantage that you hear over like the Arconia. I can just sing it because I write them with my voice oftentimes. I'm humming them, you know. Da 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 da. That's the Vantage theme. So it's always melody first, and then the orchestration all happens sort of. I'll normally get on like my keyboard or piano and write to the scene, and then replace the piano with woodwinds and strings and and then I'll work with our orchestrating team, who's amazing, and we'll sort of get it to the finish line.
Amazing. Thank you. I feel like all of I've been taking little clips of whenever you sing, because it's just amazing. This is an interesting question. It's effing cold here asks, why doesn't the Arconia have elevator music?
Oh, that is a really, really, really good question. And it was something that was discussed season 1. So that's a very good observation. So the very first scene when you see Mabel, Oliver, and Charles together in the pilot is when they meet up in the elevator for the first time. Remember that? Steve and Marty get in, Charles and Oliver get in. We sort of think at that moment none of them really know each other, and they're just three strangers in an elevator, which, I think Mabel was a stranger to them in that moment. And there was conversation. I remember I talked to the music that I talked to our editor during that scene, and we're just trying to figure out what to do. So you have the following sounds. You've got the ding of the elevator as it stops on each floor, right? You have the sort of percussive sound of like that, of someone trying to like push the right buttons, the sound of pushing a button, without the ding of an elevator. And then you have the starting and stopping of the elevator. These are old elevators. This is like you're living in a pre-war building. So it's a very noisy elevator. And there's just like the sort of like the mechanical stuff of the elevator you hear. So we decided that like that's the music of the elevator, outside of when I need to score something. And I'd written this elevator theme that we sort of ended up using for other stuff. So the very first time you're in the elevator, this is what I originally wrote that we took out. So that piece is the Arconius elevator theme that I actually wrote for the elevator that we took out, because we felt like, there's enough sounds of the elevator that are already there. And that was such a funny scene where they meet for the first time that we were like, let's just stay out of disrupting anything that Steve and Marty and Selena are doing. It was such an awkward scene because you could see Charles just feeling so trapped in that elevator with this idiot next to him, and he wanted to get out. And that was just the funniest thing ever, just seeing him frustrated. Every time the elevator stopped, Tim Kono gets on the elevator. Steve rolls his eyes. I mean, you should watch that scene for just pure physical comedy alone, just with facial expressions. So there was no elevator music at that moment, because it would have been like, if we did it there, it would have to almost always be there. And sometimes scenes play, especially with the legends that you have on screen on this show, scenes play better dry, is what we call it. No music, nothing. So if we had put some elevator music, we would have been stuck and married to that forever. So we didn't do it.
It's so true. We had such an epic elevator scene this episode too, with with the fighting and Howard desperately trying to get off. Like,
and think about, speaking of elevator, and think about even stuff from last season too. One of the funniest scenes again is in the finale of last season, where Charles can't get Fields of Gold from Sting off of his phone. He's like trying, it's playing over and over and over again. And you see him in that moment in the elevator, where the elevator is like literally crushing him, opening, crushing him, opening him as he's lying there, like after he's been drugged by Jan. And so again, that's a moment where like, had there been elevator music, that would have been competing with Fields of Gold. So and that was a very smart choice by like our editor early on too, of saying, hey, let's not get tied into this, because imagine I mean, for me, that's one of the funniest scenes too, where you see Steve Martin just like getting pummeled by the elevator doors over and over again as Fields of Gold by Sting is playing. Or I think it was Fields of Gold. I mean, it was like, I forgot what it was. And so the comedy would have been lost for having Sting's music on it because of his role in the show last season, and then and all the other physical comedy.
Gosh, that's amazing. And I love that it was a conscious decision and it definitely plays out so well. So thank you so much for that. And
about that.
gosh, thank you all for being here. I know that we're already at time. That just flew by, but thank you so much for stopping by. The door is always open. Please come back. We would love to have no runtime talk after next week's episode, after all is revealed.
And good luck to both of you at the Emmys next month.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Very exciting.
And just have a great time.
Yes. Have the best time. We can't wait to watch and cheer you all on.
Thank you. And I just want to say thanks to all the Redditors who have been so wonderful during all of this, who have really, you've made us up our game as writers, because we see the boards and we're like, oh, they're really, really paying attention. So I want to thank all of you for being such great fans and for pushing us to do a better job. So thank all of you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It really means a lot.
Oh my goodness. This is just a room of gratitude.
Definitely.
Right back at you. We love this show, obviously. So thank you for putting it out there in the world for us to enjoy and for us to convene around. It's so wonderful.
We have had a great time doing it.
Well, thank you again. Come back soon. KK Keener, thank you as always.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
We will see you next week, or hear you talk to you next week. And can't wait for the big finale.
That was creepy. How are you going to see me? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I see you right now. Don't look out your window. But thank you all again, and have a great rest of your day. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back next week, so come back and join the conversation.
Lots to discuss.
Lots to discuss.
Thanks.
So much
So much to discuss. Yes. Thank you. Bye.